Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
Say you want a revolution.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:34, 8:34 in Washington, D.C., where big news yesterday in the House. A big vote happened on delaying Obamacare. Of course, we know last week President Obama unilaterally decided that he was going to delay the implementation of the employer mandate dealing with Obamacare. But the problem is that needs to be passed by Congress, members of Congress. So our Congressman Tim Griffin made the choice and introduced the Authority for Mandate Delay Act, which is basically provides the necessary congressional approval for this delay of the employer mandate. And there is also a companion Fairness for American Families Act that also would delay the individual mandate portion of this. Both versions passed yesterday, so delaying the employer and the individual mandate of Obamacare. And happy to be joined this morning by our Congressman Tim Griffin. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Alice.
Glad you could be on, and a big day for you yesterday. And this, as you say, this is good news for individuals, families, and business owners who would be burdened by Obamacare's regulations.
Yeah, it was actually great. It was. We got a lot of Democrats in the end, and believe it or not, I got 35 Democrats voting for my bill, and my colleague Todd Young got about 22, I think. But basically, my bill was to say, look, Mr. President, we're glad you acknowledge the burden that the employer mandate is putting on businesses trying to grow, which ultimately hurts workers. We're glad you recognize that, even though you were quiet about it. You sort of announced this change through a blog post on July 2nd, I think. We agree with that, but we don't think, Mr. President, you have the legal, constitutional ability to change the law on your own. So we're going to make what you did legal by trying to make it into law, so it's sort of strikes me as odd that the president, although I understand the politics of it, that the president would oppose my bill. My bill basically does what he did unilaterally, but we're trying to do it the right way, let Congress change the law, not the president. But, so my bill passed. My bill, again, would postpone the employer mandate for 1 year, which the president has already done it on his own. We got 35 Democrats on that. And then my colleague's bill, Todd Young, his bill got 22 Democrats, and what it would do is it would delay at the same time as the employer mandate, delay the individual mandate for 1 year. And why is that important? Well, if you're going to give relief to the businesses and labor unions that have complained about the burden of Obamacare and the disaster that it is, then you need to give that same relief. It's only fair to give that same relief to individuals and workers and families, etc. And so that we do that by also postponing the individual mandate. Postpone both of these.
Right. And the key is, as you said, Congressman, that the critical that you had bipartisan support on this, which goes to show even more that there are bipartisan concerns with Obamacare. But there are a few Democrats that obviously spoke out against this, saying that this is shame on Republicans who are trying to dismantle this legislation. This is nothing more than a sorry political stunt, and shame on them for wasting the time of this legislative body. Your thoughts?
Well, let me just tell you this. First of all, it's never a waste of time to respect the Constitution and make things legal. If that's a waste of time, then I'm ashamed of whoever said that, number one. Number two, if they say it's a waste of time, they might want to spend a week in my office and listen to constituents. Yes, there are people in my district, in the 2nd Congressional District that I represent, that like Obamacare. I understand that. But and I hear them. But let me tell you, the overwhelming voice of individuals, workers, folks in labor unions, businesses, small businesses, you name it, the overwhelming voice is Obamacare is the wrong prescription for a messed up, sick healthcare system. Yes, we need healthcare reform. Yes, we need to fix the system. But this is a disaster. And the president's acknowledgement by postponing one of the pillars of his law is acknowledgement of this problem. And so I will tell you that less than 40% of the district, of the 2nd District, less than 40% of the 2nd District, from the numbers I've seen, back this bill. Let me tell you a quick story. Do I have about 30 seconds?
Sure.
So I was approached by a young Hispanic American who is a constituent of mine. He's 21 years old. His mom was able to get a franchise of a little company going, and he has now inherited it. He's a rising senior in college, and at the same time, he's managing this little franchise. He came to me about a month ago before any of this with the president, and he said to me, I'm real successful in my old franchise, and I'm not telling the details to protect him. And he said, I've got about 45 employees. He said, I want to hire 10 to 20 more, but that will put me over the 50-employee Obamacare threshold.
Right.
And then I'll have to buy Obamacare-mandated insurance that I cannot afford, which will kill my business. Will you please introduce legislation to protect me, give me relief as a small business person so I can grow my business? And he said, specifically, will you introduce legislation that moves the employer mandate from 50 employees and up to 250 and up? And I said, sure, I'll be glad to look at that. I think somebody else is already drafting that legislation. Be happy to look at that. So he told me his story, and then as this unfolded, I said, wow, this acknowledgement by the president that this employer mandate is a disaster. This is exactly what my constituent, my 21-year-old Hispanic American entrepreneur, was talking about. I said to my staff, let's contact him. I want to use his story as an example because he is a real-life example of how some businesses that want to grow and create jobs, good-paying, stable jobs, won't do it because of Obamacare.
Well,
that's what you will. Yeah.
And that's the key, though, Congressman, is members of Congress and in the Senate, they're listening to the constituents, listening to the people of this country and how this affects them, and speaking and being their voice in Washington. And hats off to you for listening to him and introducing legislation that did get passed with bipartisan support to help delay the employer mandate and also Young's companion legislation for individual mandates. So hats off to you. Good day yesterday. And just FYI, the person behind the shame on you quote was Representative John Dingell, Democrat of Michigan. So if you see him today in the cafeteria there in D.C., you may want to say a few words with him.
Well, a lot of that nonsense I don't take too seriously.
All right, Congressman Griffin, thank you for your... Got to let it roll off your back.
Yep.
Congressman, thank you for your time and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you all.
All right, have a good day. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the IRS problem with conservative groups is back in center stage, and also this delay of the individual and employer mandate. Talking to Amy Kremer about that with the Tea Party Express. She is very outspoken and been leading the charge on this. So we'll have Amy Kremer right after this.
When I count my blessings, I thank God I was an American child.
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
American child.